Alright, Schlockmeisters fans, we have a horror classic here. Been meaning to watch this for a long time. The Omen. Let's check it out. Our movie starts out June 6th, 6 a.m. Get it? 666. Gregory Peck's son was born, stillborn, he was told. His wife doesn't know yet. Apparently they have a baby to give him.
It even resembles.
They tell him the mother died in birth and there are no relatives. So Gregory Peck, that's Robert Thorne, he agrees and brings his wife, Lee Remick, Catherine, their new baby. Fast forward 5 years, he's been promoted to ambassador.
It's me. I'm appointed ambassador to Great Britain.
Fast forward 5 years, Damien's birthday party. They're in the UK now, in London or somewhere. And there's a Rottweiler in their yard.
Look at me, Damien.
And then their nanny.
It's all for you.
That ain't right. A priest comes to visit Mr. Thorne.
Communion. Drink the blood of Christ and eat his flesh. For only if he is within you can you defeat the son of the devil. I was at the hospital, Mr. Thorne, the night your son was born. I witnessed the birth.
Sir.
Saw its mother.
You're referring to my wife.
Its mother, Mr. Thorne.
This is blackmail. Now come out and say it. What is it that you're trying to say?
His mother was a...
A new nanny, Mrs. Blaylock, shows up.
Oh, no. Not with me, he won't be.
Well, I don't think...
I think it'll be fine.
I am here to protect thee.
I don't think Damien knows who he is, but Miss Blaylock sure does. My dad take Damien to church.
Good morning.
Damien doesn't agree with that idea. The Rottweiler's in the house now.
Who gave you permission to bring a dog in the house?
I thought we could use a good watchdog, sir. And Damien loves him.
Mom takes Damien to the drive-through zoo. The baboons have a bad reaction. Priest visits Mr. Thorne again.
Tomorrow, 2:30, Bishop's Park. 5 minutes and you'll never see me again. Your wife is in danger. She'll die unless you come.
David Warner's a photographer. He was taking pictures around that time, and he noticed that the priest seems to have some sort of thing going through him at an angle like that.
In the old city of Jezreel, there see the old man Bugenhagen. He alone can describe how the child must die. Look. The son of the devil. He will kill the unborn child. Then he will kill your wife. And when he is certain to inherit all that is yours, then, Mr. Thorne, he will kill you.
Well, after warning Mr. Thorne, a storm seems to hit. And remember that picture from David Warner? A spike through him at an angle.
Then you'll agree to an abortion. I'm pregnant, Robert. I just found out this morning.
And then this happens.
But she's pregnant. No.
She lived,
Lost it. That's it.
but the prophecies are coming true. David Warner shows Mr. Thorne the pictures.
And it's more pronounced this time, and it's actually making contact with the body.
They learn that there should be a birthmark on the son of Satan.
My son is dead.
And he learns that his real son...
I happened to catch sight of my own reflection in that mirror.
Parent David Warner is now at risk also. So they go back to Rome to try to look up the adoption records.
This is most important to me. I adopted a child here. I'm searching for some records of
There
it.
were no adoptions.
You said you knew its mother.
So they interrogate an old priest.
Where is she now?
I must insist that you do not...
I beg you. Where is she?
Who I think got burned in a fire.
Answer me.
And he scratches out the name of, turns out to be a cemetery.
Javette.
That's where they're going to go next. So they head out to this creepy cemetery in the middle of nowhere and find 2 graves from that night.
6th. 5 years ago.
Where they find the skeleton of a jackal. And the skeleton of his real son with a bashed-in head.
Murdered him.
They run into a Rottweiler problem trying to get out of there, but they are able to get out. Mr. Thorne called his wife and told her to get out of the hospital where she's at, but Miss Baylock shows up.
Kathy is dead. I want Damien to die too.
They go to meet this guy Bugenhagen who has these special daggers that you have to use to kill the Antichrist.
This is not a human child.
If it is not visible on the body, it will be beneath the hair.
The 666 birthmark.
Remove it.
Got frustrated and threw the daggers. David Warner went to get him, and then this happened. Mr. Thorne goes home. His wife is dead now. Damien's sleeping. He starts to snip some hair away from his head. And he finds the 666. And then Miss Baylock shows up. The struggle goes down to the kitchen in the lower floor, where Mr. Thorne finally gets the best of her. Bolts out of his house and goes through this gate, and there's security and stuff, so they think something's going on, so they follow him. He's got plans for Damien.
Please, Daddy, no.
He takes him to a church.
No, Daddy, no.
God, help me. Please. Stop. Stop on fire.
Final shot of the film at the funeral for his parents. All right. Let's talk about The Omen. I haven't seen this movie in a long, long time. I was really looking forward to seeing it again. First saw this movie back, I believe it was like February or March of 1985. It showed up on cable one night. Wasn't even aware of it, really. I'd heard of it, but didn't know much about it. Decided to watch it. As soon as I watched it, I was like, I got to get this taped immediately. And then Damien Omen 2 was also on that month. So I got both of them. So anyway, what we have here is the story of the Antichrist. A baby is born, and there's a switch at birth. Gregory Peck is the father here, and he's like he's an American politician type guy, and he's going to become the ambassador to the UK from the United States. And his wife gives birth, and they tell him that the kid was stillborn. However, they have another baby there, and they said the mother died in childbirth, and she had no relatives. Do you want this baby? And he's like, okay. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to tell my wife, because his wife didn't know that the kid was stillborn. So he decides to do the switch, and no one is the wiser. So anyways, fast forward 5 years later, he's now the ambassador. And it turns out, well, we're going to find out later on that this kid is the Antichrist. He was born the son of a jackal, and they actually killed his baby at birth, the ambassador's son at birth, and kind of offered this up to him. So Damien is the kid. He has a couple of protectors, including a dog, and this new woman who comes in to be a maid. Now, she replaces the previous maid who killed herself by jumping off the roof, saying, "It's all for you, Damien, it's all for you." It's kind of a creepy scene there, but that happened. And then this priest confronts the ambassador and gives him this information that your son's the Antichrist. He doesn't believe any of it at first, but then he comes around to believe it, especially after this priest dies. So he goes with David Warner, who's his photographer, and they do some investigating. They find this guy named Bugenhagen, who basically confirms everything. They find an old priest from the orphanage, or not the orphanage, but from where the hospital where the kid was born years earlier. They go to the cemetery and they find the grave of the jackal and the grave of his son. The head was bashed in, so they obviously killed his son at birth in order to give him Damien to raise instead. So he's freaking out. They give him some knives. You got to kill your son. He has this 666 tattoo on him somewhere. He says, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. But he goes home, and by this point, Damien's helper, the maid, has killed Lee Remick, the ambassador's wife. The father comes in and cuts some hair on Damien's head and finds the 666. And after he disposes of the maid by killing her, he drags Damien to this church with a knife. He's going to kill him by stabbing him in that 666 in the temple there. And right before he's able to do so, Damien says, "Please, Daddy, no." And then he pauses for a second. That pauses just long enough for the cops come in and to shoot him before he actually can bring the sword or the dagger down. The last scene of the movie is really creepy with the funeral going on for his parents. Damien looks back at the camera and smiles. And that's our movie. So anyway, they did make a sequel to this, Damien, Omen 2, which took place probably maybe 6 or 7 years after this one, in the final conflict when Damien is an adult. Played by Sam Neill. That came out in 1981, I think. And then they made a couple of other sequels, I think, and a remake. I haven't seen the remake at all, but I have this Omen thing in this quadrilogy box set of DVDs. Now, they've actually released these DVDs as Blu-rays in a box set as well, which I don't have. I can get that pretty cheap as well, so I'll leave a link down below for that one. But anyway, I think it's a fantastic film. I love the mood, the atmosphere. This is a kind of a creepy, scary movie. It's some great tension going on in this movie, especially when he's cutting the hair of Damien's head to find the 666, and when they're opening up the graves to see what's in there. So anyway, cool film. I'm sure everybody's seen it. Let me know what you think about it. The Omen. Watch it. Bye.